Shalom, shalom. I'm Dr. Yoshiyahu of the Awakening Remnant Coalition, the ARC, and I'm the Moray here. I'm sharing the message. I'm grateful to be able to share a message coming out of the book of Nehemiah, and hopefully will be an encouragement to the house of Israel and companions. So, by the way, like the video. Don't forget to just hit the button. It's easy to do. Share these videos. And of course, if they're helping you, then send a donation to the station. And I didn't come up with that. I heard another brother say it. Made a lot of sense. And it's easy to remember. Just send a donation to the station to help us keep doing what Amayah has called us to do. Okay, so in our last video, we talked about how the men were concerned because the walls of the city were broken down. So in this video, I want to just talk about that piece, that wall of the city, the walls of the city of Jerusalem. And it's not walls plural, it's really one wall. I got to remember to keep mentioning it's really one singular wall that circled the whole entire city. And the first, I guess, major question, because we don't really see that today around every city. The first question would be, why? Why do we even need a wall in the first place? Like, what's the purpose of this wall? And why was it such a major concern for Hananiah, which was one of Nehemiah's brother, may have been his blood brother, and the certain men that came with him? Why? And that is because, first and foremost, when we talk about walls, the walls, especially walls that surrounded ancient cities, and even today, you can see some of this, some of the remnants of these walls in other places all over the world. But walls have a definite purpose, especially city walls. And what is that purpose? The purpose, primary purpose, is protection. They have a purpose. And that purpose is defense. That's the number one purpose of a wall. As a matter of fact, the wall itself is actually a military weapon. The wall is a weapon. The wall is a weapon of war. Yes, the actual wall itself is used in war to fight battles. It's used to fight battles. So the wall has to have at least, I'll say, 4 things that will make it a efficient and a substantial tool, or I should say weapon, in warfare. What is that, Mowbray? Okay, well, first of all, the very presence of a wall, the presence of it, just the presence of a wall, it stands as a defense, as a defense, a barrier from the onslaught or the attack of an enemy, because of the fact of constant threat and constant evil and raiders and invaders of our enemies. One of the things that you do is immediately you have to build a wall. You build a wall because the wall itself is an instrument of war. And it is primarily, I'm going to get to this in a moment, hopefully in this video, it is not just defense, but believe it or not, the wall serves also as a way of offense. I'll prove it in a second, but for now, just understand that the wall is a military tool or military weapon. And so the first defense against the city is the wall. Why do we need to defend the city? Because we got to protect what's inside the wall. So therefore, if the wall is going to be effective, it has to have at least, 2 or 3 things to make it effective. So what is that? Write this down. Walls have to be high. Oh yes. We're not talking about no little bitty walls that somebody can just jump over, Zion. What is the point of that? So the walls to the city, when you design the walls have to be extremely high. High enough to deter an enemy, a thief, an invader, whatever, to deter them from wanting to enter in, just because they know that they would have to scale a wall to do it. And the wall is so tall that the higher and the taller the wall, the less an enemy is going to be like, what, I can do it. No, the taller it is, the more safe and secure the people are going to be, because it immediately says to the enemy, if you're going to get over this, it's going to take some effort. And when you try, if you try to actually make it over this wall, by the time you start scaling this wall, we're going to be able to see you. And you're going to be exposed on the side of the wall. And therefore, it's going to be easy pickings when it comes to getting you off the wall. When it comes to deterring you from continuing your ascent, we're going to be able to stop that if the wall is high enough. So the wall of Jerusalem had to be high, right? Second thing, your walls have to be thick, really thick, so that it becomes impenetrable. In other words, you don't want a wall that something can hit in some kind of way by continually applying pressure or continually, applying blows, that it can knock the wall down or knock holes in the wall. So therefore, the wall has to be very, very thick. As a matter of fact, the walls are so thick, or need to be so thick, that at least 2 to 3, maybe even 4 chariots, like horses and chariots. It needs to be so wide that you could probably get 3 or 4 horses and chariots that are side by side and that can actually ride around the top of the walls. That's how wide the top needs to be, at least. So that as you set up what's called a patrol, that you can actually use your horses and chariots. I'm talking about our ancients. So today I would just say like this: it would have to be big enough for at least 2 or 3 tanks or 2 or 3 Humvees, fully, maybe 4, fully stocked, fully ready to fight, on top of the walls, can go around it and patrol. That's how thick the walls have to be in order for it to be an effective weapon of war. So what do we have? We have, it has to be high, and it has to be very, 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 very wide. What else? The wall has to be then strong. So there needs to be thought. When you're building the wall, you have to have put in thought. It can't be haphazard, or you can't be like, I ain't gonna build any other kind of wall. No, that's not the way it works. Which means that if you're gonna do the wall, and and you're gonna fortify it, then it has to go down deep into the earth. You have to dig a trench to lay the foundation of the wall in the trench, so that for the most part the wall is immovable. It's not able to just fall over at any wind or like storm or people or whatever. No, it's got a strong foundation, and it is then fortified. Fortified with what? It's fortified with towers. And in these towers that basically are part of this wall system, in the towers, you have watchers in every tower. And the watchers communicate with each other at all times. So this watcher speaks to this watcher, which speaks to that watcher, which speaks to that watcher, and they have codes and they have words, so that they're always looking out to make sure that that the enemies cannot come in without us seeing them first. And those towers have to be also fortified. Why? Because most of the time the watchers live in them. And I'll get to the gates later, but for now, I just wanted to put that out. And these towers are where the actual watchers, most of them, they almost live there. They stayed in those towers for what's called watches, okay, of the night, which means they had so many hours to spend all day and all night. So what do we have? So the situation that is brought to Nehemiah, it's obvious that if the wall is broken, that means there's no towers, there's no watchers, and there is no military defense, there's no line of defense, there's no first line of defense against the enemies, which leaves what? It leaves Israel vulnerable. So the purpose of the wall is to protect the people. Who are we talking about? Number one, the wall protects the men. I know y'all thought I was going to say the children. The walls, first of all, protect the men. The walls protect the men so that the men can continue to be the men they're supposed to be, to do what? Fight at the wall and beyond. So the wall is important, because if you remove the wall, I promise you, the first people that the enemy's coming against are going to be the men. They're going to try to kill all the men first. Get rid of the men. The second, of course, is the women. So we need our wall, because without our walls, our men will be destroyed, and then our women will be taken. And then, of course, number three is the children, and that's the way it will go. The enemy will attack the men first. Then after that, there will be a huge attack on the women, and then the children. And of course, Nehemiah, understanding that perfectly, it moves him to prayer about what to do about this broken down wall. Why? Because remember, Nehemiah himself is in a palace. He lives in a palace. He knows how important the wall of the city is. All right, this video is getting kind of long. I'm gonna stop it here. If you're liking these videos, if they're helping you, if they're making you think and making you want to study, and it's encouraging you, like, wow, then support the channel. Send a donation to the station, like the video, and share it. Pray for me, I'll pray for you. We'll come back in the next video, and we're gonna see some parallels. Hopefully we'll bring out some spiritual parallels between the walls of Jerusalem being torn down and the walls of the house of Israel today among the captives, which is us, who are the remnant. And what we're going to do, we're going to make a parallel between the walls of that day being torn down and the walls of this day. So stay tuned. One love, Zion. Shalom, shalom.